Welcome, everybody. It is me. It is the Cyber Warrior. This is Cyber Warrior Studios. And I know you're all here for another amazing episode of Security Happy Hour. So, look, I got to get some work done. I got to step away. I'm going to let my guest run the show. He's going to be talking about a lot of big things, a lot of important things. And as soon as I can get back, I'll get back. But this is my guy. This is my boy. So give me a minute and we'll be right back. And we're back. And so with me this evening, I have Makeshift. And like I said, I got a lot of things going on. I got work I got to get back to. So I'm going to let him run the show. We're going to talk about Republic of Hackers this evening, getting new people into cybersecurity, a bunch of big things. So if I can come back before the hour's up, I'm going to do that. If not, Dave, the show is yours, and I shall return as soon as possible.
Sounds good. Hi, everybody. Yeah. So, well, this is fun. Just to kind of start things off, if you guys didn't know, my name is Makeshift. It's down right there. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram. And if you really want to find me on LinkedIn, just search for David Fraley and look for some weird bearded weirdo. I guess to kind of kick things off, I am currently an information security analyst. I've been on this show previously, but it's been a little bit since I've been on here. I've been very busy with life. I'm sure if you guys have seen this before, this is actually my house now instead of the apartment that I was in before. So moving up in the world. Admin for and co-founder of the Republic of Hackers Security Discord. Trying to ramp things up on there. We actually do have a couple events that yours truly is trying to plan to kind of ramp up the activity and everything. Kind of fell short a little bit. We've had some people, a lot of our admins have started getting new jobs, new roles. Very, very busy, including myself. We're looking to kind of bring some more people on there. If you guys need a link for that, reach out to me. I will be more than happy to send it over to you guys. A couple of the things that I wanted to kind of talk about today on the show is, kind of setting people up for success when it comes to getting into the industry. I know, a lot of people, and again, I know I've talked about this before, but I think it's been a little bit, so I wanted to kind of reiterate things and, talk about things for people that may not have, seen the past episodes or any talks that I've done. We always talk about, like networking. Oh man, networking is super duper important to, to build your roster of people that you're connected to and colleagues and everything, whether it's on LinkedIn or Twitter or, even on Discord. But nobody ever really tells you how. They always tell you go do it, but they don't give you any instructions on how to do it. They just it's kind of like a figure it out yourself type of situation. And as somebody who did their networking on Twitter, and I actually had my now VP reach out to me on Twitter and offer me a job. I feel like I am definitely a professional when it comes to leveraging your presence on social media to get you a job, or at least increase your presence in front of these people that are looking to hire. When I first started off, I had worked in the games industry for a little bit, working for PR. And I had like maybe 340 followers on Twitter. And because, I'm very, very outgoing, very extroverted. I love talking with people. It's kind of my bread and butter. I love doing podcasts like this. So that was just kind of my thing, was like, oh, I'm going to start building up my network because I want to connect with like-minded people that share the same interests and the same passion I do for cybersecurity. And, I the very first thing that I started really working on was connecting with some of the big wigs in the industry. Your Alyssa Miller, your Dave Kennedys, there's a ton more. That's just to name a few. But I started just making connections with these people immediately, like following them, seeing all the different posts, the things that they're talking about. And, and I'm not saying that everybody has to go to the extent that I did, because I'll be honest, I went a little crazy with, connecting with people, and I spent hours on Twitter just connecting, even while I was at work as a help desk analyst. I was like that dedicated to building up my network of individuals. But it started off with, again, just starting to follow these people and just slowly interacting with their stuff. And you don't want to kind of fall under creeper status is basically another thing like I want to get to. Like, you want to do this in moderation. The biggest thing that worked once you started following people, or and you wanted them to kind of follow you back, was doing these follow for follow Fridays. And I know they seem to kind of taper off recently. Not too many people do them. There's like maybe a handful, but it's not nearly as prevalent as it was in years past. But basically, for those of you that don't know, follow for follow Friday, you literally would just do like a hashtag FF and then list all the people that either you were following that you wanted other people to follow, or listing people that you wanted them to follow you back at some point. Doing that, I noticed a huge increase in the amount of people that were slowly starting to follow me. And then it kind of, like, I got nervous because I'm like, oh crap, like, I don't know anything about cybersecurity right now. I'm still learning, but these people are following me and they are interested in what I have to say. But if you do that, you will start to notice that people are going to start following you. And the other thing you want to do is you want to, again, slowly start interacting with their stuff, whether that's liking their content, whether that's sharing it yourself with your own opinion or idea on what it is that they're talking about. If you have like an opposing viewpoint, or if you have something that complements what they're saying. And then also just commenting on their posts, just engaging in their conversations that they're, posting on these social media platforms. And eventually, and I guess the other thing too that I want to mention real quick is you don't want to bombard them with stuff. Like, you don't have to go in with the mindset of, I'm only really connecting with you because I want you to hire me for a job. Like, it's kind of like I guess like a weird like reverse psychology type thing. But for me, like, I never had the mindset of, I'm going out here to, to get a job. I'm connecting with you because I really want you to hire me. I always connected with people because I just wanted to get to know them more. Like, I genuinely wanted to be friends with these people. I could care less what they did for a job if they were involved in the cybersecurity industry and I could learn from them. Those were the types of connections that I wanted to make. The other thing you want to be a little weary about too is, I know a lot of people they will post a lot on cybersecurity on there, and that's fine. Like, if they do engage with that, but notice too, a lot of people's posts don't involve cybersecurity, because a lot of people, at least from the groups that I've been around with, they don't want to talk about cybersecurity after they're done with their 9 to 5. Like, they're so busy with their stuff. The last thing they want to be doing is having more conversations about cybersecurity during off hours. So again, it just kind of falls in line. Get to know these people. Just have general conversations. If somebody, I think her name, she's Lena Dork Phoenix on Twitter. She's a big Chiefs fan. I'm not a Chiefs fan, but I love football. So I can sit there and I could talk football with her. It has nothing to do with cybersecurity, but I'm still building that connection at the end, Brad Vore, what do you feel has provided the biggest influence for your career from these social media platforms? What do I feel has provided the biggest influence? trying to think of how to go about answering that. What do you feel like provide the biggest influence? And maybe I guess I just and it's been a long day, so I apologize if I seem a little tired or off. As you know, even Cyber Warrior has had a pretty long day and everything. I provided the biggest influence for my career. I mean, I guess it would just be like my drive, like my passion for learning about this stuff, and I just wanted to connect with people. Um, I don't really think there was anything really that influenced me. I'm a people person, so connecting with others was the biggest, I guess, influence for my career. I hope that answers your question. Maybe you can word it a little bit differently. I've had 1 cup of coffee all day today, so that's my brain is still not running properly. Um, but and then the other thing, and with trying to connect with people online, that is huge. But the thing that a lot of people that are hiring that they're looking for is how passionate are you about cybersecurity? Like some, not saying that you can't get the job and do it for the paycheck, because a lot of people do that, and that's totally fine. Like that works for you, great. For me, it isn't just about all about the paycheck. Like obviously the money's good, and if you're, if you go far enough in the industry, it can be very lucrative for you. But for me, it has been about the passion. Like I genuinely love working in this industry. And I don't know if I've even been on this podcast since I started working in the industry. Maybe I have, I don't remember. But the biggest way that you can show people that you have passion for things is by doing things like on Try Hack Me, on Hack the Box. I mean, really any other platform, even if you took screenshots, like I've been learning how to do Python. I'm not good at Python at all. Didn't know anything about it. Did a little bit with it when I was learning, taking the practical ethical hacking course from TCM Security. But outside of that, like I never really kept up with it. Was never really a coder. But realized like I kind of want to benefit from understanding this, so that I can use it at my job or even just at my own home network. So I've been using an application called Mimo, and on there you can share your progress for how many, like your streak or whatever. And that's another thing, is sharing your stuff on social media. By doing that, you're showing people, hey, like I might work help desk for my 9 to 5, but during my off hours, I'm studying this stuff and I'm sharing it on social media to show others like that you're passionate. I honestly think that between the two, between networking and going after certs, or just studying in general and sharing my progress on these sites, really, really benefited me. And in my opinion, it continues to benefit me. I still constantly get people wanting to follow me, wanting to connect with me on LinkedIn. The thing still works. And I know, again, a lot of you guys are probably sitting back going, well, you're very extroverted. What do I do if I'm more introverted, more, timid and shy, and, maybe not wanting to engage as often or as much as you did? And, you know, and maybe that's something that, like, if you really want to do the networking, but you just don't know how because of that, reach out to me. I have absolutely no problem helping you, helping come up with a plan that will help you build up your network, but in a way that works best for you. Um, I know I've helped some people that were a little bit more, like I said, introverted than me. And, I just tell them, like, you don't have to engage as often as I did. Like I said, I was spending probably 4 hours or more on social media every single day, including when I was at work trying to build things. And you don't have to go that crazy with it. You can literally just make it, I had told one guy that I was working with, if you make a post a day on either one, you could do it on LinkedIn or Twitter, but just a post a day, that right there is generating your own content. that is showing people, hey, you're passionate or you're engaging, you're kind of you're just increasing the amount of activity on your profile, which in turn increases the chances that somebody comes across your stuff and wants to engage with you as well. So yeah, I mean, those are kind of some of the bigger ones. And again, if you want to talk more about it on the side, I absolutely have no problem talking to people. A really good place that you can find me is the Republic of Hackers Discord. I try to be in there almost every single day. It's a little difficult on certain days, depending on what I've got going on at work and everything. But I do try to be on there, trying to engage with more people. Yeah, so I mean, jumping on there, I can help you, or again, you can just private message me on either LinkedIn or Twitter, and I will have absolutely no problem helping you out. The other thing, and this is obviously a little bit of a debate, is the thing for if you're new or you're wanting to get into this industry. A lot of people sit back and they go, well, do I go after certifications or do I go for a degree? Now, years ago, I leaned heavily against going to college. Main reason for that, the college that I went to, they developed a cybersecurity program, but it was not the greatest. Again, if you're wanting to train somebody up on that, chances are you're probably not teaching somebody about C++. You're teaching them about, either bash scripting or Python or just something, or even PowerShell, some sort of scripting language or coding or whatever that you can use that actually will benefit you in the field. C++, not so much. Like I've been in the field for 4 years now, roughly, and I've never touched C++. It helped in being able to understand code and kind of be able to read it and get an understanding for like what that program or script or whatever is trying to do. But you just don't use C++. There were a number of other things that they didn't seem like they were up to date on what they should have been teaching. So the degree that I have in that is kind of useless. And like Griffin InfoSec mentioned, yeah, WGU is a phenomenal college to go to. They, like he had mentioned, you get the degree and most of the CompTIA certs, as well as like I think they got a couple other ones that they kind of sprinkle in there. But yeah, I mean, you get a phenomenal start to your career the minute you graduate. You've got all these certifications, you've got your bachelor's or associate's or master's degree, whatever it is you're going for. You throw all that onto a resume, you're going to be sitting pretty. And that's kind of where, like, if I were to tell somebody to go to a college, I would be pointing them to WGU. In terms of, but even at that, and like that's kind of the outlier, I still think that just going for certifications is probably going to be your easiest point of entry. The reason for that is it costs a heck of a lot less. I mean, the one that I'm taking from, it's the PSAA from TCM Security. That cost me $250 for the course material, 2 test vouchers, and that's basically it. It just seems like the certs are just, it's just like I said, it's just an easier point of entry. You can spend very little amount of money. If you're fortunate enough to work somewhere where they will cover that for you and reimburse you, after you're done passing or whatever, great, even better. But yeah, it just seems like the certs still are kind of the way to go, especially if you're not big on, school atmosphere or whatever. Yeah, ding, fries are done. Yeah, that's unfortunately I am still on call, so I'm hoping that I don't get pinged or have to do anything extra. But if you're motivated, you save a ton of cash with WGU because you can set your own pace. Yeah, and that's that again. Like WGU, it seems to be kind of carving out the frontier for how colleges should be approaching their curriculum. I think that when you start, and honestly too, getting people that are already in the industry or have been a part, and getting them to teach, or even just kind of consulting them on, hey, what are some classes that we should be incorporating in our curriculum, just so you have a better idea. Because I don't know, like I said, I just feel like a lot of the colleges, including the one I went to, just they didn't consult anybody on that. They were just like, yeah, we'll just start throwing all these courses because they sound good and they cover a little bit of cybersecurity. um it kind of falls in line with like the job postings where you see the CISSP. You got these companies that are just like, we don't know anything about cybersecurity, but we know this certification relates to it, so we'll just throw it on there, not realizing, all of the requirements that you need to have before you can even sit for it. So, WGU also fits most companies' tuition reimbursement. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and unfortunately, I wish that I would have gone there instead of the community college that I went to. I wasn't in with a group that knew about that at the time, so I never ended up going. I went through the harder route of kind of trying to find certifications like the Security Plus and just studying myself and taking those. But yeah, I mean, again, if you have the money or whatever and you can afford it, absolutely go to WGU. We've had a couple guys on the Republic of Hackers server go for that and graduate and find jobs fairly soon after they're done. So yeah, fantastic option. But absolutely too, even when you're looking at certifications, you kind of have to decide like, oh, well, like, where do I want to go? Do I want to go the defensive security route? Do I want to go the offensive? Do I want to do GRC and compliance, or, like just any number of routes? And even if you go online and you look up that, I know if like you go on Google, you can actually pull up the image of like all of the different certifications, and it'll like color code like which ones the path goes for. Those, it's fantastic, but it can be overwhelming to look at. You're like, well, which ones do I go for first? Like it can be kind of confusing. And I'll tell you, as if you're wanting to get in cybersecurity, but you don't want to necessarily be like super technical, I would even say starting off, and especially if you don't have a whole lot of money in the start, taking the certified in cybersecurity course and certification from ISC Squared, fantastic. Like it really is good. It doesn't cost a penny. All the training material and everything is stuff that they provide to you. You can even take the certification for free just to, again, help you get in the door. If you want something after taking that provides a little bit more knowledge, understanding, or whatever for the certification, is the Security Plus from CompTIA. I have mine. I actually just renewed mine, I think, like last year. Fantastic. Definitely goes more in depth, and it gives you a wonderful understanding of all the different areas. It covers, a little, just, and I'm talking very, very high level of like the offensive security, defensive security, compliance, just all sorts of stuff. Gives you a really good foundational understanding for it. But at the same time, it's a hard certification. Like it don't go into that thinking, oh, this is I'm going to breeze through this and pass it. No, it is hard. You still need to spend a decent amount of time trying to understand the concepts that they're trying to convey. And it does still, even on the certification test, like you still have to have a really good understanding for the study material to be able to answer some of the questions. Because it's not just like there's one correct answer and then the other three are completely wrong. The way they cater their exams is like, which of these answers is the most right, which can definitely trip up a couple people, because it's not saying that the answer you chose was really wrong. It just wasn't the most right answer. And I know it tripped me up a couple times, and I'll be honest with you, like had I gone and taken it right when I wanted to, I would have failed it, because I just didn't put that much time and effort into studying for it. And luckily I had a buddy of mine that was willing to take some time out of his day to kind of help coach me and mentor me and help me actually pass the certification. And he even said, he goes like, if you're not ready for it, don't go after it. And I literally, I canceled it. I rescheduled it 2 weeks out. And then I studied every single day for the next 2 weeks, 2 to 3 hours a day, trying to get up there. And finally I ended up passing. But you know, if you want to be on the more technical side and you want something that's a little bit more hands-on, like for me, I'm a really good hands-on learner. I'm not good with just sitting there reading a book or watching, you know, somebody scroll through a PowerPoint and just read it to me. Like I like being able to sit on and run through, you know, whether it's commands or setting up, you know, your own home lab. I love doing that stuff more, and I seem to pick up on it more too, because it's like, well, if I happen to make a mistake, then my troubleshooting skills have to kick in, and I have to start trying to figure, okay, well, where did I screw up? You know, and it like I learn better that way. And if you're like me and you learn that way, I highly recommend going for the PSAA certification from TCM. Andrew Prince, who is the one that's doing that, is fantastic. He really just details everything, starts off kind of slow, goes, you know, a little bit not faster, but obviously like more advanced. And I took it just to fill in some knowledge gaps. Like I had told my boss, you know, I thought I knew about how to handle phishing emails and everything. And by taking this course, I quickly realized I knew nothing, like nothing. I mean, outside of, you know, hovering your mouse over the links to see where it's going to send you, or looking at the sender's display name and seeing, you know, if it even somewhat relates to the sender's email address. Like, and then don't get me wrong, you can still solve a majority of the phishing emails with that, but with how advanced AI is getting nowadays, that's not going to be the case here soon. You're going to get way more sophisticated emails, and you need to be able to like analyze email headers and everything and know what you're looking at when you're looking at headers to really start being able to analyze them at a more higher level, more professional level. So yeah, taking that course has been extremely beneficial to me. I'm a big fan of TCM Security, so they absolutely get kudos from me for putting together something like that, because a lot of their certs are more offensive related, and seeing them push out more content and more certs for the defensive side of the house has been really cool. Especially again, being as big of a fan of them as I am. But yeah, that's that those are the certifications that if you're wanting to hop into the industry or get your feet wet, absolutely. If you're wanting to just study a couple little things, you're not necessarily wanting to go for a cert, but you're just kind of wanting to dabble in, Try Hackney is a fantastic one. They've started adding some more defensive like rooms and everything that you can jump in and start understanding certain concepts. But what else do I want to talk about? Yeah, I mean, it's just there's a lot of different things that you can do to kind of start getting ready to get into the industry. And I just think that, you know, like I said, we talk about it so much, but like nobody really tells you what. It's almost like they either want you to find out for yourself, or they want you to like ask a mentor or something, or get a mentor and, you know, have them kind of lay out this roadmap for you, like, okay, you can do this, and then when you're done with that, do this, you know. And a lot of mentors too don't have that kind of time. Like they very much like, you have to kind of respect their time, and so you have to kind of come to the table with some pre-built questions on, you know, and try to get them as granular as you can, so it just kind of helps them help you out even more. Don't just go to somebody and be like, how do I get into cybersecurity? Because I will tell you 9 times out of 10, most of them, if they've already been answering a bunch of those questions before, they're not going to want to sit there and answer it for the 50th time that day. You know, yeah, I was going to say, and if you guys have any questions or anything, please feel free to throw them in the chat. I'll see it off on the right-hand side. I will answer them as best I can. But yeah, and that's kind of the other thing too, is, like if you want to get a mentor, there's a lot of people that are willing to be a mentor to you. But you have to know how to go about approaching that. Do your research on, again, and part of that goes with building building up your network. You build up your network, you find people that you want to befriend, and everything. And then when you find out, oh, hey, like I know that they're a manager or they're a supervisor or they're just further along in their career, they've got more years of experience. It, don't be afraid to even reach out and ask them. The worst that they're going to say is no, and then you just go, okay, that's no problem. Let me go find somebody else. Griffin InfoSec, what about interview tips? Two things on that. One, make sure that you research the company that you are interviewing with, because a lot of the interviews, even that I've been in, it shows that you've kind of done a little bit of your homework by researching the company, researching what they do, asking them questions about the company, and even asking them about the position, like what is required, like what does a day-to-day look like for somebody in this position. Something that we used to do on Republic of Hackers for a little bit before, again, everybody got super busy with stuff, trying to, again, rebuild it, kind of get it back to doing some of this stuff. But we used to do mock interviews. We had a lady by the name of Tina on our server, and she was fantastic with them. She's also one of the admins, and yeah, we would set aside time, schedule it out, and she would sit down and just answer or ask interview questions to you, in trying to get you more comfortable with being in an interview. A lot of people, myself included, I get into interviews and I get very kind of nervous. Like my hands start getting all clammy, my hands start freezing up. I start shaking a little bit, you start fumbling and stumbling over your words. And doing the mock interviews just gets you more and more comfortable with that overall process. I've even heard people who aren't even necessarily looking for a job, and they're very comfortable in their career, they will still apply for other jobs and go through the interview process just to still maintain a level of comfortability with being in those interviews. There was another thing that I wanted to say with regards to them. That's it. When you're going into an interview, and I think some other people on LinkedIn have said this too, but think of it less of an interview and more as just a conversation. Don't try not to get super nervous about it, but just go in there knowing they're trying to learn about me as much as I'm in there to learn about them. And again, asking them questions about their company, asking them questions about them or what they do, or what the role entails. But it literally is just a conversation that you're having with them. Again, if it doesn't pan out, hey, at least you still got that experience for being in that interview, and that just means that job just was not for you, and you got to keep going on and just keep applying. Resume tips. I know that probably a fair few people will probably use AI to help them kind of craft their resumes. The biggest and best thing that I will say is try to keep it concise. Don't I've even heard from some people, don't have it more than a page or two. But yeah, I mean, I would try to keep it as concise as possible. List all of the important stuff. Making sure that you're listing your certifications or stuff that you've worked with or tools. I would say to list the places that you've worked that are relevant to the job that you're applying for. That was something that I had to kind of understand, because I mean, like, I've worked at a Valvoline before. I've worked at car dealerships. I was actually a mechanic before I even stumbled across cybersecurity. And so, like, when I would go and I would apply for some of these jobs, like, I would still have Kohl's and everything on there. And it's like, I wanted to throw that on there to show that, like, I've got the soft skills, you know, the ability to communicate clearly and thoroughly when I'm trying to express something. But I quickly found out that it's like, okay, well, if you're somebody that's, you know, say you're in your 40s and you've had 15 jobs leading up to the present day, you don't need to throw all 15 jobs on there. It starts bloating out your resume too much. You're throwing out a bunch of stuff that, if we're being honest, like, the person that's looking to hire you probably doesn't give a crap about. So yeah, I mean, I would absolutely just put on there some of your more recent jobs, you know, even if they don't apply necessarily to the job you're applying for, just so that you don't show that you have gaps in employment. But yeah, definitely probably one of the bigger ones is making sure that you incorporate the previous jobs that are kind of specific for the role. For beginner, I would say one page is best. Don't put another job unless you can relate it somehow. Like, a teacher can be a trainer. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like I said, one page is absolutely best. Some people will, you know, the reason why I said 2 pages is mainly because of, like, the cover letter. So as a hiring manager, what I look for: certs, education, relevant work experience, and skills are most. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that Brad Voris covered that perfectly. You know, list the certs that you've accomplished, list, you know, any education that you may have had. A lot of people mainly just list their college stuff. You know, the relevant work experience, skills, and tools that you've worked with as well. I mean, again, you don't have to necessarily list every tool, but I would say, you know, give a good number of tools that you've worked with in the past. You know, you don't have to sit back and go, well, I've worked with Defender and Purview and Exchange Admin. You could probably just list, like, O3 or M365, which just covers all of those, you know. And maybe list, like, how comfortable you are with those. That might, you know, just a little tidbit on the side there. William, I wish I knew some teachers or trainers. Yeah, I mean, you know, trying to find a teacher, I guess, would be different, but, like, I mean, you can find anybody that's willing to train. Again, we've got people on Republic of Hackers that do it. I know there's other people, even on LinkedIn or Discord, or not Discord, but Twitter, that are more than willing to kind of train you or help you out with stuff. It's just trying to find somebody that's got the time that they're willing to dedicate to it. Because yeah, I mean, being any sort of like a trainer can be very time consuming. You know, you could be sitting down with somebody for 2-3 hours trying to cover stuff. And obviously too, you know, you can look up a bunch of stuff using AI. Don't trust everything that comes in there, but, you know, if you are questioning something, like for me, like, you know, again, I don't know much about Python. So if, like, I'm going to write a script or whatever for it, and I'm like, man, I really want this program or this script to perform a particular function, but I don't know enough about Python to be able to do that. Just, you know, just ask them. Being on Discord, you can absolutely ask somebody on there. Again, that's what I've done a number of times. I've gone on Discord and, hey, I don't know what I'm doing with, you know, the PowerShell or something. I need to be able to run this. Oh, can you help me with this? And more often than not, somebody's chimed in there. Oh yeah, here's a link that will tell you this, or here's a YouTube video. You know, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get a ton of resources thrown at you. And YouTube's another fantastic outlet if you want to, like, learn things. I've used it a number of times when I'm trying to learn something about Azure, or, God, what else was the other one? Intune's another one. Yeah, I mean, literally anything. YouTube is just a breadth of knowledge. trying to think of what else would be beneficial for somebody starting out. I guess the other thing that I can bring up is try very hard not to overwhelm yourself. Easier said than done. I know a lot of people, when you look to get into the industry, you'll realize like, oh my gosh, there's just so much to learn. It's like there's, do I learn AWS? Do I learn Google Cloud? Do I learn Azure? Do I learn, oh, but I need to learn all these different tools. And it can seem very, very overwhelming. And I'll just tell you, start off with one thing at a time. If you slowly start working on things and then you get your foot in the door, you're going to be drinking from the fire hose anyways, but just try not to burn yourself out, because once you burn yourself out, and I did burn myself out, I stopped studying for stuff or wanting to even touch cybersecurity things for like almost 2 years. Because of how burned out I was. And it was from trying to study for a certification. So yeah, it's like, if you're studying for, the Sec Plus or the PSAA or whatever, like, don't be afraid to go at it at your own pace. Because the last thing that you want to do is be trying to absorb as much information as you can. And then you get to a point where you're stressing yourself out so much that you burn out, and then you're like, I don't want to ever touch this ever again. And then you've just destroyed your chances of trying to get into this industry. I think that is a big factor. And if anybody thinks that they're on the verge of burnout, or if they want to talk to me about, like some of the signs that I noticed even nowadays, because I've come close again, just because again there's just so much stuff to learn. And I've even sat back, and I was actually having a conversation with a coworker today. I had to work with some PowerShell, and I told him, I was like, oh, I sat back and I'm learning Python, but now I'm starting to wonder if I should start learning PowerShell. And then, oh, well, on top of that, there's like all these other things that like I just don't know, and you can get overwhelmed very, very quickly. So try to focus on like maybe 1 or 2 things to learn. Take your time learning them. The knowledge and everything will come. You just don't burn yourself out on it. Because yeah, we need as many people in this industry as we can. I know there's been a lot of things going on with people with layoffs and everything. But we do still need a lot of people in this industry. We need people that are very smart, very passionate, very willing to learn things. And that's probably, again, like another little tidbit I'll add is knowing that when you get into cybersecurity, like you are in it for the long run. You are learning constantly. There is never going to be a time where you are not going to be required to learn something. I'm sure 5-10 years ago, some people were like, oh, I'm good on learning stuff. And all of a sudden, then you get the AI boom. Oh, well, now we need to start understanding how AI works, how it can be used. Oh, well, now they're being used to craft, more sophisticated emails, or, they're being used by some script kiddies to perform some, huge program that they're going to use to hack your network or whatever. Like, we need to understand stuff. And they went right back to the drawing board and started, understanding and trying to learn more about AI. So that's just kind of like another thing. Like if you're not really wanting to spend a whole lot of time learning a bunch of different stuff, maybe do some self-reflection. I want to tell you not to get into the industry, but just really sit back and think, like, is this something that is right for me? Just check something here real quick, because I am on call. Okay, I'll have to probably get to that here in a second, but yeah, does anybody have any other questions that you guys would like to ask me? I know this is kind of a little bit of a different episode, me running basically everything. Hopefully Derek's not too deep in the weeds. But yeah, and like I said, if after we end this, if you guys want to, you can reach out to me. Like I said, my name's up there on the screen. Do not hesitate to reach out, friend me, follow me, whatever, send me a message. And yeah, just, ask me some questions if you got them. What we got here? One great thing about GRC is that GRC isn't actually on. Yeah. Well, the I will say the slight downside to GRC is that when audit season comes around, you are working tirelessly. Like, I know we are kind of entering that at my company, and I've already been on a bunch of different calls and different little projects here and there, kind of working with them. And I'll be the first one to tell you, I am not a policy guy. I don't mind writing like incident reports and everything, but when it comes to writing policy, it's been a new skill that I've had to learn. Probably the biggest one is whenever I've written documentation on how to do something, how to, like, if it's something at your job, if you're handling a particular alert, I'm very good at writing the playbooks. So when I went to go turn around and start writing some policy for our company, I would write them with the mindset of a playbook. And you can't do that. Like, you can't be that specific with things. You kind of have to be a little bit more vague on what it is that you're writing the policy for. That was kind of the one thing that really kind of threw me a curveball, and I'm still learning about it. So don't get me wrong, I worked 3, 10, 12-hour days, and today's PTO was spent sitting on Teams to monitor. Yeah, I mean, it there. You can have some very, very long days. I do not envy what people in compliance have to do. I see what some of our compliance folks have to go through, and I give them mad kudos. They get all the respect in the world. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. And not to mention just understanding, like, and having to deal with auditors too. I mean, that in and of itself can be a very scary, or an intimidating aspect to the job. I know I've sat on with some auditors. I've been called up randomly because, like, we would create like little placeholders for some of our security guys as, like, oh, if we need to bring you in, like, be available during these times. And I mean, I've been right in the middle of doing something, and I get pulled into a meeting with an auditor, and they're like, "Oh, we need you to show us how to do this," and it's like, okay, and you just, like, have to real quickly try to, like, gather your thoughts and everything, and yeah, it can be kind of stressful. I have to ask the questions, playing dumb, quite. Yeah, it's, and then that's kind of the other thing too, is like, if the questions the auditor is presenting to you to figure out if you've got policy or whatever to check box, some of their requirements, you do kind of have to play dumb on that aspect as well. And that's something else I've learned is, if if they ask you a question and you provide an answer that's not up to their speed, or, like, don't be afraid of having them come back and ask. Like, you have to be even vague a little bit in your response to their questions. It's like a weird game that you play with the auditors. Like, and even the funny thing is too, is like, some of them, because they're auditing like probably multiple different companies, they have just like a template of questions that they ask, and they just shotgun fire them out to all these different companies. So, like, some of the questions that you get don't even necessarily pertain to what is in your environment, or it's like I said, it's just a weird game. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, William Bailey, you got that entirely correct. Do not say anything extra. Like, let them kind of be the ones to what's the word I'm looking for? Like, narrow down what they're looking for so that you can better answer the question for them.
All the things. They're looking for all the things.
Yeah, just give them the keys to the kingdom and tell them, hey, find it yourself. Here's all of our policies. Have fun.
Hey, everybody, thanks for listening to Dave and letting him run the show for me. I truly appreciate it. And all the questions, Dave, you've been kind of running things without, like, a champ. I know I sprung this on you spur of the moment, but, duty calls, work calls, and sometimes you got to be on the the phone a lot longer than you want to be.
I'm still working. I was literally working up until like 10 minutes before the show started.
Oh, after here in about 10 minutes when I get off, I got to call one of my guys and get some information off of him so that I can get back to work and finish some things up.
I still got to get a hold of somebody even after I'm done here, and it looks like I froze.
Same. Your camera froze, but I can hear you.
Oh, that's weird. I don't know why my camera froze. But yeah, like I still have to reach out to somebody and start resolving another issue that I was dealing with before this. So yeah, it's just to let you guys know.
In the cyber world, I thought I became a manager and engineer, and apparently IR is still in my job somewhere. It is what it is.
We wear all hats.
You got to work. When they're paying you, you do what you're asked.
Yep.
So, but yeah, man, you know, I heard you talking about like certifications and degrees and kind of how you were against college initially, and then it's kind of changed and you're kind of on the fence and, you know, all these different things.
Yeah.
There
we go.
For me personally, certifications mean more depending, right? Certain certifications hold more weight than others.
Yeah.
So for instance, you know, TCM is going to hold more weight for me than say a CEH. Because a CEH is basically multiple choice or multiple guesses, I like to say.
It's a brain
Unless
dump.
they've changed it over the years. Multiple guess and take your CEUs now.
I think they have a practical version now. I did see somebody post like CEH practical. So they might have updated their, like they might have almost like 2 certifications for it now.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I would agree. It is absolutely a brain dump from everybody I've talked to about it. They're like, and the thing is too, is like, even over here, CEH is not a prevalent certification. It is if you're like over in like India or over in Europe or whatever. Like I know it's a little bit more, it's held in higher regard over there. Over here,
well,
yeah.
well, even in the government, it is a requirement for it's part
really?
of 8570. You know, now it's not a requirement. There's other ones you can take in their stead, but CEH is part of 8570. I think it's 8570. I've been out for a while, so I can't remember the exact number, but I think that's what it is. US CEHs just got pitched a practical exam. Yeah, I honestly, so my thing is this: TCM is valuable. OSCP, even though they charge an arm and a leg now and got greedy, in my opinion, it's still valuable. I had not an argument. I had a conversation with the people that developed the testing and coursework and things like that back when I was taking it a few it's been a while. I can't remember when I got my OSCP. But anyways, and because more and more juniors were attempting to break into the industry, they dumbed down things, so to speak, and gave away like a lot more, made it easier. And I said, well, why? And they said, well, because of new people breaking in, and it's not an entry level cert.
No,
it never should have been.
No.
But now it kind of is. Minus the report writing.
Well, and I was gonna say too, that's kind of another thing that's been going around the social medias and everything, is people saying that these certifications, even, you know, that are around now, are too easy. Like we need to make them harder because it's like.
So I'll put it to you like this, and this is what happens, right? When I was in the Army, I was going for 25 Delta, and our course had 3 SAN certifications. So it was the GSEC, GCED, and GCIH. Now, prior to it being a certification, we also took Python Coder, which is now GPYC. And there's something else we did too. I forget what the initial one was before GSEC. There's like a lower level that's not a certification, but an actual course.
Yeah.
When I went through, though, the standard was you had to pass every certification initially. Well, people started bitching about the attrition rate. Well, we can't get enough people to pass these, so we can't do this. So what they do, lower the standard.
Yeah.
And they said, you don't have to pass this test now to become a 25 dollar. And did that fire me up? Oh, so much so. I sent a few emails. But,
and another thing too, like even
like to me, instead of building people up to excel and exceed the standard, right? And this goes for certifications. This is our career field. This is everything that we do. And I'm all for people getting better, people breaking in. Everybody
Yeah.
knows that. That's my whole platform. I love when people break into this industry, but do it to standard.
Yep.
Exceed the standard. Bust your ass and make it worthwhile. Because when you start lowering the bar for people to break into something or people to be able to do something, you've now diminished the work and effort that everybody else had to do to get there.
Well, and not only that, you're setting them up for failure too, because if
For
they
sure.
like, I know some of the passing rates for some of these certifications are like, oh, you just have to get like 67% or something low like that. Well, if you pass with a 68% and then you go, oh yeah, I got this certification, and they hire you in, and then they're like expecting you to kind of know some of this stuff, and you go in, you're like, oh, I don't know any of this. Then it's like, okay, well, now, not saying that you can't still learn stuff on the job, but it's like, oh, well, we had this expectation that you knew this because of this certification.
Well, and that goes back to this is why. So there's some people, and even myself, right? This is why, like, if you have something, let's say a GREM, which is GIAC reverse engineering malware, I have that cert. I will never apply for a reverse engineering job. Why? Because I studied, I knew it, I took the certification. Can I do that job now, considering it's been 7 years, roughly, since I've done any of that shit? No, not at all. No. I'll put that bitch on my resume to get through and be like, oh, yeah, I have all this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But when asked questions, I'll outright tell people, nope, I don't know this shit. I can relearn it. I can study it again. But if you want me to hit the ground running, you got to give me at least, like, depending on what it is, anywhere from a week to, like, 2 months. Like,
Yeah.
it really depends on what we're doing. But
Yeah, it's like I know of this stuff, and I know some things, but not enough to be what I would label as being proficient in it,
yeah. So there's certain things that, like, we do. But again, the industry did it to itself.
Yeah.
That's the problem. So let's put it to you like this, and I think the government is the biggest factor in all this. Government came out with 85.7. Government said you need to have a security plus, an A plus, a network plus, CEH, CP, like you fucking name it. They threw a bunch of It was basically like they took the certification letters and were just like, fuck it. Whoo! Threw it at the wall and we're like, yep, those are the ones that stick, and that's what we care about. CompTIA was like their baby. I swear the government was funding CompTIA for a while. They might still be. And you know what ended up happening? The government got contracts to do boot camps for CompTIA to pass certain certifications. Those boot camps that they paid for, you see, they were given vouchers for the tests, and the tests were the exact things they asked in the boot camp and the questions they went over. But if you got a different voucher for one reason or another, the test was completely different.
Yeah.
Now you no longer had those questions and answers. You didn't have that answer sheet in front of you, basically. So, if it wasn't for the government coming out with 8570 saying you need this to do this job publicly and just kept that internal to DOD or DOE or whatever, if they would have kept that internal to the government, I think we'd be a lot better off. But the fact that they made it public and we're like, hey, to do any of these jobs, you need these certifications. This is across the board for all civilians. Now, CompTIA, offensive security, a lot of these other GSEC SANS, all these other organizations, man, that's a money grab. Because now I can charge the government for the boot camp.
Well, and I'll be honest with you too, like boot camps, I have a big issue with.
I like boot camps when done properly. For instance, InfoSec Institute. We're not going to get into the way they do boot camps, but how they claim their 90 whatever % passing rate. I don't know. I don't even know what it is anymore because people do fail. I was there. People fail the test. You're not guaranteed to pass, which I'm thankful for. But they ended up the way they do their courses. Hey, these are the topics on the test. I'm gonna go through these in like a day, right? I'm gonna just brush through. Now I'm gonna teach you how to do the job. Now I'm gonna teach you the information that really fucking matters, so that you can go out there and when you get a job with this certification, you actually know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah,
that's why I've always loved InfoSec Institute. Keytron Evans was amazing with that. That man showed me more exploits that dude came up with and started doing and like blew my mind. Like how to hide things from system and task manager and everything else blew my mind. I was like, oh my God, I'm in heaven. Homie, teach me. And he was like, oh, by the way, I'm going to give you this exploit, but I've already submitted it to Metasploit, to VirusTotal, to all this, so that your dumbass can't use it maliciously. I've made sure that the signature is everywhere. So you have fun, but you're not going to use it for bullshit me.
Yeah.
And like I respected the hell out of him for that because he showed that this is possible because it was a class in which we did ethical hacking. That's where I got my CEH from.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of things about like the boot camps, and it just always seemed to me like it was just a memory dump. Like here, memorize all of these concepts, memorize these questions, memorize the answers, and then just don't take the test.
It depends on where you go.
Yeah. I'm not saying maybe like all of them are like that. I've never taken a boot
No,
camp,
you're absolutely right. That is the way a lot of boot camps are.
Yeah.
But it depends on where you go. And you got to find the right ones. But this is to your point when you were talking about WGU earlier, because somebody brought it up.
Yeah.
That's why I like WGU, because it's not a boot camp. You see, I got my CCNA years and years ago, not through a boot camp, but, well, I had to recertify because it expired, so I did get that one through a boot camp. But my initial CCNA came from going through a tech school and actually learning the technology, actually learning the commands, actually learning everything. Because I went to PTI before it became a college. It was just a technical institute and learned everything about Cisco network.
Yeah.
That's how I passed that. So again, there's good and bad to everything. But I will say this, and I will preach on this. There are tech schools out there that will give you more for less. And it's better than any university you can go to.
Mm-hmm.
Look at your tech schools. Just like there's trade schools and all this other stuff, look at your tech schools. Don't be afraid to go to a 1.5-year certification program. You'll end up in that certification program. You pay for all the certs. You get the certifications for all that. Plus, you finish the coursework and go about your merry way. Like, I just don't understand the appeal to a 4-year university if you're not going to go for a master's or a doctorate. There's absolutely no reason in IT and cyber to go to a 4-year school.
Yeah. Well, I hate to cut this short. At least on my end.
We both got to cut it short because I got more work to do too. But I did want to jump in the last few minutes as much as I could. Yeah. So before we go, Makeshift, David, I love you. You're my brother. Sorry we couldn't have more of a conversation. We will catch up later, but thank you for running the show. Before we go, give your final words of wisdom, final advice for anybody trying to break into the industry.
Just do it. Just do it.
Absolutely love it. And that's really what you got to do. So look, anything in life, go out there, go for it. Don't let the naysayers, the haters, or anybody bring you down. If you want to do something, go out and go for it. You are your own worst enemy. Yep. You are the reason you're not succeeding. You are the reason you're not achieving your goals, and you are the reason you're not seeing success. It's all on you. You got to go out there, work for it, earn it. And if anybody's going to doubt you, anybody's going to tell you no, tell them fuck you, go about your merry way, and go out there and earn it. Because you belong, you deserve to be here, and you are everything you aspire to be as long as you work for it. Now, saying that, me and Dave both got to go and get some shit done. I love you all. You're all my warriors. You're all my family. Y'all take care, and I'll see you next week with another amazing episode of Security Happy Hour.